My name is William Jobs. I've been coming to Loch Ness for the past 45 years. Trying to find some evidence of creatures in the loch. And on May the 23rd, I actually saw a head and neck over near Borland Bay. The head came out the water very quickly, turned towards me and then went straight back down. Unfortunately, I didn't get the time to take a photograph of it. But moments later, a back came up and I took two quickly hurried photographs of the back as it went down. Unfortunately, I didn't get the head and neck shot, but the head resembled a sheep's, which I was totally and utterly amazed about. The head was also quite big in relation to the neck, and it also had bulging big eyes, which I was very, very amazed about. The next day, I came out to actually view the same area again, hoping to see the head and neck. But unfortunately, I saw nothing that day. And it got to 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd been there from 5:30 in the morning, and it got to 11 o'clock, and decided to come back to the cottage where I was staying at the Abbey. The weather was absolutely atrocious. It was torrential rain and it was blowing a gale, so I decided enough is enough. Just as I was walking away from the area, I heard a splashing noise and turned around and saw this massive, great big back come up out the water 400 to 500 yards away. I immediately started filming, and I managed to get 3 shots before the creature disappeared altogether. I don't know what it was, but it looked really big to me. I estimated the size that above water that I saw would be 15 to 20 feet. When I looked at the photographs actually that I'd taken, I was a bit disappointed because they weren't as clear as I would have liked, but then I realised how bad the weather was that day. But I was still quite impressed with them, and I gave them to the Inverness Courier, who published what they thought was the best photograph. I myself considered one of the other pictures to be better, but having said that, the paper were quite right in publishing what they did, because it gave an indication of what's in the loch. It's obviously quite a big creature, and it showed a back and what looked like a tail, because I did not see the head and neck that day. It was only the day before I saw the head and neck. But as I say, the second day the creature was an awful lot bigger. As I say, again, I estimated it to be between 15 and 20 feet in length. That was the piece that I saw above the water. I don't know how much more was below the water, but it did look very, very big. Well, I've spent 45 years here, and it's the first time I've actually seen a head and neck out the water of any animal. And the hump that I saw the second day was the biggest thing I've ever seen in Loch Ness. I mean, it looked enormous, it looked a really big creature. I think the creature that I saw in the middle of the loch was more related to a plesiosaur, size-wise, because as I said prior to this, it was a big creature. But I saw no flippers. All I saw was a hump and what I take to be a tail. It may have been the head, I don't know. I did not see that. But again, I repeat again, it was a big creature.
Yeah.
and it made a loud noise, and that's what made me turn round, because I was heading back to the cottage, and as soon as I heard this big splashing noise, I turned round and I saw this massive big black hump come up out of the water, and by the time I got the camera up and started taking shots, it was starting to submerge, and then it came up again slightly, and then down, and then up again, and then down, and then that was it. It was gone. Numerous people have actually said to me in the past that they think that the creatures are dead in the Loch, but believe me, the things that I saw, these are not dead. These are living creatures. One was a large living creature and one was a small living creature. To say they were plesiosaurs, or to say they were eels, or to say they were any other kind of animal, I don't know. I'm being perfectly honest about this. I do know that the first creature that I did see head and neck was a very, very strange creature. I've never ever seen anything like that before. It resembled a sheep's head. That's all I can say. It's the only thing I can think of that it looked like. But as I say, it had big bulging eyes, which made me think, my God, what on earth is that?
Who has not heard of Loch Ness? A remote and mysterious lake in the Scottish Highlands that holds a secret deep within its murky waters. Tales of a huge monster have come down to us through the ages, and yet, are we any closer to discovering the truth? Just as it is being postulated that the monster has died, something new emerges. Reality films have tracked down the most amazing story about the Loch Ness monster since the very first sighting was announced. Come with us as we journey into the heart of the mystery and to the shores of Loch Ness. It all began in the 6th century and the Irish monk St. Columba. He and his companions came across a group of men burying a friend. They explained to St. Columba that the man had been swimming in the nearby river Ness when he had been attacked by the water beast. Mauled and dragged under the water, the man had no chance of survival. And so, St. Columba sent his friends swimming across the river to prove the power of Christianity. When the beast appeared, the saint simply made the sign of the cross and commanded, "Go no further. Do not touch the man. Go back at once." The beast complied. This is the earliest and probably most quoted evidence for the monster. And yet the problem remains that it is simply a piece of Christian propaganda used in varying forms in many places around the world. One example is that of St. Patrick casting out the serpents of Ireland. The power of God over the evil beasts of the land. On the other hand, there are many legends that have truth within them and are simply stolen by the Church for their own means. Could it be true that there were pre-Christian tales of the monster of Loch Ness, unwritten but widely known amongst the illiterate Picts? next recorded sighting had to wait for centuries, when, in 1933, George Spicer and his wife recorded seeing a most extraordinary form of animal cross the road in front of their car. It was 4 feet high and 25 feet long, with a slender neck of around 10 feet. That same year, Arthur Grant claimed to have nearly hit a creature on his motorcycle in the early hours of the morning. It crossed the road and back towards the Loch. Grant was a veterinary student and described the creature as something between a seal and a plesiosaur. Sightings increased as the new road brought higher numbers of visitors to the area. And then, possibly the most famous picture of all was finally taken. Hugh Gray was walking home one day after church when he spotted a commotion in the water. A large creature rose from the lake and Gray immediately snapped some pictures. The pictures revealed an image much like the eyewitness accounts. The picture caused a Nessie sensation. By 1938, actual film evidence came forward, taken by South African tourist G.E. Taylor. It was later shown at the National Oceanography Centre in Southampton. In the same year, none other than the Chief Constable for Inverness actually wrote a letter stating that it was beyond all doubt the creature existed. In fact, it was his duty for public safety reasons to highlight the existence of the monster due to the hunting parties that were descending on the area. During the Second World War, C.B. Farrell of the Royal Observer Corps was distracted from his duties by a large-eyed and finned creature measuring around 300 feet and with a long neck. In 1954, actual sonar contact was established by a fishing boat for half a mile. In 1960, Tim Dinsdale filmed a hump crossing the waters of the Loch. 1990s, the Discovery Channel researched the footage, and with enhancements they revealed the body of the beast beneath the waves. From 1934 to the present day, there have been dozens of scientific expeditions to the Loch, with sonar equipment and all manner of new ways to discover the secret beneath the waves. To this day, nothing substantial has been discovered, regardless of the millions spent.
My name's Steve Feltham, and since 1991 I've been full-time living on the side of Loch Ness in this converted mobile library, watching and waiting, trying to spot whatever's in the Loch. I've been here 20 years now and seen a lot of odd things over the years, seen a lot of strange effects on the Loch that a lot of people would be convinced by, but over the years you get used to seeing the false alarms and the boat wakes, and I've only seen one thing so far that I really can't explain. At Fort Augustus many years ago now, something going through the water as if a torpedo went through the water. In the time I've been here, I'd say Fort Augustus has been the place that most sightings have been, but not always. You know, some have been down this end. It varies, but yeah, Fort Augustus is very good for sightings. Which is possibly because you've got a couple of rivers coming out there. It's very deep. There's a lot of activity in the water, really. And also you've got you got a regular boat like the Royal Scot that goes in and out with their state-of-the-art echo sounders on there.
Yeah.
And so you've got a pretty constant monitoring of that area of the Loch, which we haven't got anybody down this end of the Loch doing that. So they pick up results, and you know, there's somebody there using that equipment all the time. I'm from Dorset, and I first came to Loch Ness in 1970 when I was a 7-year-old. I was on a family holiday, and at that point there was a big expedition going on near Urquhart Castle, and these guys had built this platform sticking out of the hillside, and they had a tripod on there and this camera, and the lens on the camera must have been about 1 metre long. And as a 7-year-old boy seeing that, you know, that was just gold dust to me. That just got me hooked on the whole mystery, and the interest just grew throughout my life. I kept coming back for more family holidays, got more and more hooked on the subject.
Yeah.
And eventually in 1990 I found myself in an occupation that wasn't really my cup of tea. I managed to do 3 years installing security alarms, which was alien work to me, and during that time thought to myself, well, what is it I really want to do in my life? What is the things that makes me happiest? And it was always being at Loch Ness. So eventually I thought, well, sell my house, quit the job, and I can set off and follow my dreams and get up here and get fully involved in trying to answer these questions at Loch Ness. I think when I came here full time I was still looking for plesiosaurs in the Loch. I don't think I am now. Well, I know I'm not now. But what it actually turns out to be is, well, the jury's still out on what the answers are here. I'm inclined to think it might be something like a catfish, Wells catfish, something like that. Wells catfish is the biggest freshwater fish in the world. They can grow to 5 metres. They're a huge fish, and they've got this very smooth back. They can live for 100 years, eat other fish, and in the Victorian era they were released for sport into several English lakes for fishing. There's no record of them being released in Loch Ness, but if at that period in time they were released into here, say half a dozen of them, well, they would have come to maturity at about in the 1930s, when the sightings really got the world's attention. And by now they'd be getting towards the end of their lifespan, and so sightings would be dropping off, which they are. I think there's got to be more than one of these animals. I know there was a German woman that used to live at Fort Augustus. She saw 3 one evening, a big one and 2 small ones. Other people have seen 2. Echo sounders pick up contacts with more than one at a time.
Yeah.
It's totally implausible for there to just be one crusty old monster swimming about in the Loch. It has to be a breeding population of something. But you know, different people come here with different ideas as to what the answer is. And so doing what I do, I hear all the different people's theories. And you know, people are looking for catfish, sturgeon, plesiosaurs, all sorts of answers, paranormal explanations.
Yeah.
So quite sort of deep water creatures. And the problem with Loch Ness is that the water is so murky, if you like, but it's the peat from the hills that's suspended in the water. So if you went down there with high-powered lights, you're only going to the light only penetrates about 1 metre, and then it just reflects back at you. So you can't hardly see at all underwater in here. Sonar, a lot of animals are repelled by sonar. If, say, a seal got in the beam of a sonar, it's going to get away as quick as it can out of that beam, because it thinks there's a predator after it. These animals seem to have that characteristic as well. So if it is a kind of fish, well, it's only because the resident fish population that we know of is in the first few metres. It's only because these animals are feeding on those that they're coursing through the water and the back breaks the surface by accident. If that resident fish layer was down at 5 metres, we'd never see these bigger animals at all.
It has been suggested that the monster has in fact died, or the species become extinct. Sightings have reduced year on year, and evidence become increasingly thin. Have we scared off the beast, or has he died out? Was he there in the first place? There are a great many explanations for just what the monster was. From seals to eels, from schools of fish to floating logs. none of them fully answer the eyewitness accounts of a 30-foot beast with a long neck. Perhaps the most popular theory of what Nessie could be began in the 1930s with the concept of the plesiosaur, a long-necked aquatic reptile that became extinct thousands of years ago. There are a host of arguments against this theory, not least the fact that the Loch itself is relatively new, being only around 10,000 years old. There are also scientific arguments stating that a plesiosaur would not be able to lift its head out of the water in the way eyewitnesses have reported. However, none of this takes away the hundreds of eyewitness accounts and the arguments for the plesiosaur or something similar. Scientists have been wrong many times before on just what a dinosaur could and couldn't do. Let us take the stingray. This fish, along with many others, actually buries itself beneath the ocean floor. A clever evolutionary device, and one that would avoid sonar detection. It's even difficult to spot up close. Could it be, as some believe, that Nessie lives beneath the waves in hidden subaquatic caves? Have the many thousands of years of evolution forced an adaptation not seen in fossilized remains? Until we find something, we will never truly know. Or will we?
Now on this boat we have two different sonar systems. We have a Simrad sonar system, which is basically a fish finder, and that what you'll see on this screen, this will show us a bit of rock structure, it'll show us the water, and it'll show us anything that's in the water. Okay? That's the Simrad system, which is duplicated over there. This one here, it's basically a virtual three-dimensional view of what is underneath the water. And you can see the bottom pretty flat, all carved out during the last glacial period 10,000–12,000 years ago or so. Uh, 60–70 million years ago or so, Canada and America started drifting off to the west, and even the Atlantic now is even getting wider every year by a centimetre or so. But when they drifted off, the east coast of Canada left behind a lot of land here on the north and the west of Scotland. This little black and red dot is the boat. The line you see coming out from that is our direction of travel and the water's surface, and the line you see coming down represents the sonar beam. So the distance between the boat here and where it hits the rocks underneath us at the minute is 240 feet. We can use this little colour chart, grey dots being small fish, red dots being big monsters! Monsters! Yes. Big fish indeed. Now, looking in the water here, we do have lots and lots of little dots around the place, mostly greys and blues. These will be fish up to maybe 5 pounds, a couple of kilos or so. Once you start getting way up into the yellow colours, you know, you're looking at things approaching maybe 20 kilos, way up into the reds, could be any size. Okay, now looking in here, mostly greys and blues, although we do, in amongst this little bit of interference we've got here, there is a nice yellow dot in there. There's no reason at all that shouldn't be at least 20-30 kilos in size. We also have in the loch here another species of sea fish called Arctic char. Heard of Arctic char, anybody? No? Basically they live in the cold, dark oceans up near the North Pole. But they obviously became trapped in Loch Ness during the last ice age, and they don't go anywhere now. They've evolved to live in fresh water. And you'll get them associated with lots of freshwater lakes where the glaciers came to 10,000 years ago. The North Sea, off the east coast of Scotland here, 60, 70 metres deep. Here we are in 60 metres, and there's the shoreline. You can throw a stone at it from here. So that shows you how steep the sides are under the water. So Arctic char, now they are the most numerous fish we have in the loch, but nobody even knew they were here until the 1980s, where they were discovered in Loch Ness. There are certainly, in the loch here, some very large eels. Back in the 80s, they dredged or stuck to a power station, I believe. A big eel, about 15 feet long or so, quite wide. But there's other stories of where at the end of the Second World War there was supposed to be a destroyer, a cruiser came through here, and in celebration of the end of the war they chucked over a couple of depth charges to get rid of them. And apparently a piece of eel that size came up. The truth of the matter is, more people have been to the moon than the bottom of Loch Ness. Now what we do get on occasion are quite large red dots like the end of your pinky. Now what they are is what the mystery of the monster is really. Nobody really knows. We get them, there's other boats in Loch Ness report getting them as well. Indeed my colleague the other day there on one of the speedboats got a very large contact down in Urquhart Bay near the castle. Couldn't really tell how long it was, but it was certainly 1.5 meters thick. Now, monster stories really go back for millennia. The Pictish people called them water horses, water kelpies, and they carved them into rock. The first written records are really about 1500 years ago. St. Columba spreading Christianity to the Highlands here from the west coast and Ireland. Here's the first written records of a large creature in the loch. And indeed there's a few of the Benedictine monks who have reported seeing a large creature in the loch. But every year there are tourists and monster hunters alike reporting strange things on the loch. Now nothing really floats in Loch Ness for very long. A day at maximum. Trees, dead fish, bodies, anything, they all sink. Nothing floats for very long. Which might explain why there are some extremely large eels down there. Nobody's actually caught one yet, but I would say there has been a couple of dead ones showing up over the years. So down there, it would not surprise me if these are the kind of creatures which are associated with being monsters. But if you go to the ocean floor, a few hundred meters deep, they're always finding new species there. Loch Ness, 200-300 meters deep, nobody goes down.
worked exactly the same way as this sonar, so the boat's always in the top right hand corner. As I was coming in close to the shore, we get the shore coming in here. And all of these individual little dots are fish contacts. Now on the day, on the screen they're much better, it's just a rubbish camera. And I had a very big shoal on the loch underneath the boat. As I get closer into the shore here, this very big green thing appeared. You can see it there, you can see the green line. It's that bit there. Now it won't necessarily tell you the length, because if the boat's going along and whatever it is following the boat, it will show on the screen like a big line. But what's more impressive with this is the width of this object. It's quite thin here and it gets into a very big bulb there, tails up a bit and it carries on. It's about 1 metre and 1.5 meters in diameter. We've all seen weird stuff though, you know, we've seen rocks flying out of the loch. That's a really popular one. It was about 2 years ago, I stood out looking out there the window. In front of me, we're in 600 feet deep of water. This rock came flying out of the loch in a big arc. I'm just sitting there drinking my coffee, and it just flew out of the water. It flew for a bit, hit the loch, a big splash, and it was a splash that really drew my eye to it. I'd seen it fly, but if I hadn't seen the whiteness of the splash, you know, I don't know if I would have noticed or not, but I saw it and I thought, that's really weird. We were 600 feet deep on the sonar, and where this rock had flown out of the loch and in a big arc and crashed in again, where it had come from, I have no idea. And that was about 5 years ago. It was the middle of August, wasn't it? That little Aussie kid came running up to us. I was in the ticket office. This little Australian, he'd been on the boat, looking out the window, and he'd seen this rock flying out of the loch in pretty much the same place, or around about the same depth. And he'd spoken to one of my colleagues on the boat at the time. Yeah, I've just seen a rock come out of the water, mate. So I'm not necessarily saying that it looks like this. But there's definitely something in the story, whether it's something that's coming up the river the same way that the seals are. I think we don't know what it is. Now I was delivering a yacht from the other end of the loch, and I was in Drumnad Rocket Harbour overnight, which is where he was starting off from. And on the side of the jetty, he had this big net. Now it was a big net, about that high, cylindrical, maybe 20 feet long, something like that, 7 or 8 metres long. Big cylinder with a net in the end. And now in the middle of it was a fork stuck down, and he aimed to lure Nessie in through this cylinder, scraping the skin off of the fork as the monster slipped through it and sampled the DNA. You can tell what it was, you know. Sounds like a great tale, you know, and it makes perfect sense.
My name is William Jobs. I've been coming to Loch Ness for the past 45 years. Trying to find some evidence of creatures in the loch, and on May the 23rd I actually saw a head and neck over near Borland Bay. The head came out of the water very quickly, turned towards me and then went straight back down. Unfortunately I didn't get the time to take a photograph of it, but moments later a back came up and I took 2 quickly hurried photographs of the back as it went down. Unfortunately, I didn't get the head and neck shot, but the head resembled a sheep's, which I was totally and utterly amazed about. The head was also quite big in relation to. My name is William Jobs. I've been coming to Loch Ness for the past 45 years. trying to find some evidence of creatures in the loch. And on May the 23rd, I actually saw a head and neck over near Borland Bay. The head came out the water very quickly, turned towards me and then went straight back down. Unfortunately, I didn't get the time to take a photograph of it, but moments later a back came up and I took 2 quickly hurried photographs of the back as it went down. Unfortunately, I didn't get the head and neck shot, but the head resembled a sheep's, which I was totally and utterly amazed about. The head was also quite big in relation to the neck, and it also had bulging big eyes, which I was very, very amazed about. The next day, I came out to actually view the same area again, hoping to see the head and neck. But unfortunately, I saw nothing that day. And it got to 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd been there from 5:30 in the morning, and it got to 11 o'clock, and decided to come back to the cottage where I was staying at the Abbey. The weather was absolutely atrocious. It was torrential rain and it was blowing a gale, so I decided enough is enough. Just as I was walking away from the area, I heard a splashing noise and turned around and saw this massive, great big back come up out the water 400 to 500 yards away. Said that the paper were quite right in publishing what they did because it gave an indication of what's in the loch. It's obviously quite a big creature and it showed a back and what looked like a tail because I did not see the head and neck that day. It was only the day before I saw the head and neck. But as I say, the second day the creature was an awful lot bigger. As I say, again, I estimated it to be between 15 and 20 feet in length. That was the piece that I saw above the water. I don't know how much more was below the water, but it did look very, very big. Well, I've spent 45 years here and it's the first time I've actually seen a head and neck out the water of any animal. And the hump that I saw the second day,
glimmering shape kind of appeared. I suppose you could say it was like a ship or an aeroplane. I stared at it for what could have been forever, you know. But just as I was getting my breath back, this other shape started to appear out of the water. It was sort of like a giraffe's neck, and it was leaning up towards the ship. And all around it at the time, the water was acting so much differently. I mean, it felt as though the ship was affecting it. I know that sounds strange, but as the beast's head was going upwards, it felt to me as though, I don't know, as though they were communicating in some way. Then all of a sudden the ship left and the beast went back into the water, and well, there I was, left in the silence again on my own. No, I haven't talked to anybody about it. And I mean, I don't intend to go public with it. Well, who the hell would believe me, for a start?
According to this man, who is very well known in the scientific community, the beast of Loch Ness appears to actually be intelligent, communicating with some form of ship, and in all likelihood is probably not of this world. He even theorized that it, and possibly others, came a long time ago and hid in such places, thus giving rise to the many tales of lake monsters around the globe. If this is true, then we now know why sonar and other devices have never tracked them down, for their own technology far exceeds our own. We also have a fascinating insight into the method of communicating, which appeared to be completely silent. Our scientists postulate that there is some form of psychic communication far beyond our audible and simple methods. He says that his subsequent research shows that it is possible a great many sightings of aliens around the globe could be linked to this method of communicating, that we somehow pick up the signals at certain times of day. This sighting happened at sunset, a time well known in the UFO community to be a prime time for alien appearances. And so our question remains. What happened to the monster? Why have the sightings all but died out? Our man had one final word.
Well, I went back the second night, right after. I went to the same spot, the same time, and it all happened again. There was the ship and then the beast appeared. I wanted to communicate with someone. Well, all of a sudden, the ship kind of opened and the beast seemed to come out of the water, straight into the ship. And well, then the ship left and I was left on my own.